Welcome, I'm Anne-Marie and I'm going to speak about urban development and our native wildlife. Urban development is a growing necessity in Australia. The Australian Bureau of Statistics states that there is a population increase of one person every 1 minute and 30 seconds. My concern is that where suburbia and cities are growing, the natural green space is declining. Where I live, there is lots of bush and paddocks which are home to kangaroos and koalas. Just down the road, there are 3 large housing developments under construction. What concerns me most is the effect this is having on those native animals and the environment. It is predicted that by 2050, over 70% of the world's population will be residing in urban and suburban areas. As the population grows and the green space declines, so does the availability of resources and habitats. The Department of the Environment and Energy states that Australia has had the largest decline in biodiversity of any continent recorded over the last 200 years. My research has been greatly assisted by the online database library through Curtin University, where I found useful databases such as ProQuest, Australian Bureau of Statistics Online, eBook Library, Agricola and Google Scholar. The Department of the Environment and Energy website was a great source of information too. Another useful tool has been Scoopit, the curation tool I chose in week 6. It has allowed me to access all of my information in one place and was easy to use. Through my research, I found the main environmental impacts of urban development on native wildlife are loss, fragmentation and degradation of habitat, as well as the introduction of environmental weeds and exotic animals, such as cane toads, rabbits, red foxes and dingoes, along with domestic dogs and cats. These impact the available resources, habitats, population sizes, nesting, breeding and foraging areas, which then change the way the animals behave and live, and in turn affects the local ecosystems and may lead to species becoming non-viable or threatened with extinction. Further on from the impacts of urbanisation, I've begun to research the importance of biodiversity conservation for our native animals and their local ecosystems. Gleason and Gleason define an ecosystem as a biotic community made up of animals, plants and microorganisms, together with the physical environment it occurs in. While the Department of the Environment and Energy rates biodiversity important for human existence by providing things like clean, fresh air and water, as well as food products. I've also found that every year the Minister for the Environment and Energy invites anyone to make nominations before a new assessment cycle. These nominations then get assessed by the Threatened Species Scientific Committee. Once listed as a threatened species, there are legislation and policy put in place by the government to aid and support the recovery and conservation of at-risk native wildlife. There is the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, which is a legislation that protects both national and international important flora, fauna and ecological communities. The Land Care Program, which is a government investment of $1 billion in sustainable agriculture, as well as the protection, conservation and rehabilitation of a natural environment over 4 years. And finally, there is Australia's Biodiversity Conservation Strategy, which has guidelines on how people can protect plants, ecosystems and animals in Australia over the next 20 years. It seems that urban development has a large impact on native wildlife, which in turn filters down to impact the local ecosystems and the biodiversity within their environment. I feel there is more investigation to be done to find the full cycle of impacts stemming from urban development and what else is available in the planning stages to reduce the impacts before they happen. My inquiry connects to the Year 6 key ideas of students being able to develop a view to see that changes in one area of Earth's systems will impact on other aspects, and see that the survival and growth of living things are dependent on matter and energy flows within a larger system. I feel this fits this inquiry well as urban development impacts native habitats, which affects the natural biodiversity and ecosystems around them. Thank you.